I once hosted Eitan in the studio, and he came. It was an Emunah class. He was just made Aliyah to. I don't know if he'd made Aliyah, but he was trying it out. Eretz Yisrael, and he was living in Ramat Eshkol, and I wanted to, like I did with Rav Shlomo, focus on Aliyah.
Right.
Because Rav Shlomo was the whole class. The focus was Eretz Yisrael. We had this beautiful background of Eretz Yisrael and Yerushalayim, and with Eitan, he was like, "Don't bring up that topic." I was like, "Why?" And I don't think he'll mind me sharing this. It's just like he said, because it's there's different
neighborhoods,
different parts of Am Yisrael have different experiences, and it was not simple for his family and for everything else. Plus, which we were just discussing now, he has the most amazing band in America, and it brings him a lot of atzlacha to work there. And so
his dad's choir.
Oh Hashem, yeah, wow. So you must know the Chassidus for years.
For 40 years.
Wow. Part of the discussion now was we were going to bring his whole band to perform with him, because that's the best. I mean, I brought them once to Amsterdam, and they were amazing. Like a very secular, traditional crowd, and he blew them away with his band. Alex Clare was there, also booking him hopefully now Hanukkah, and who else was there? I had these singers from Madrid, guitarists, both Jewish. I don't know how they ended up in Madrid. And then I had, that's the best place to learn Spanish guitar, that's for sure. I always had that vision myself, but then I came to Israel instead. And then who else? I had the Shira choir, 8 Chassidim singing. This was at this wedding. So I hadn't booked anything for Eitan since then. It's been a long time. So it was nice to hear him and have him be in touch, and hopefully or his people requesting him, and then him returning my call. But the point is that there's just so much opportunities right now to really share the light globally, and part of this shir in the Shtiebel is to bring Chizzuk from Chassidus, which is, I was listening to Tzaddikim talking about this Nakuda, and different people who give shirim, and they said that is the whole tachlis now of Chassidus. Like here at Y.Y. Jacobson or Moshe Weinberger, literally Moshe Weinberger just saw his shorts. He has these shorts now, and he was saying it's none of this complicated stuff. Just give Chizzuk, rock Chizzuk. People should come out feeling that they can do it, they can change. There's ability to grow. So Rebbe Nachman, Rebbe Nachman Faiga Simcha. We're going to learn Vayter in Likutei Moharan, and as I said, I've just been going through the Sefer slowly, and every time it's exactly what needs to be learned. So here we are in the Bein Mitzrayim. We're in the 3 weeks, the first of the week, and Parshas Pinchas. And we know that Pinchas was able to bring down the Brisi Shalom, and we know that by Rebbe Nachman, the Indian of Kedushas Abris, and Shalom is a big part of his eitzes, the opposite of the eitzes of Bilam, who we see in these next few parshas that we see the Bilam being destroyed. Baruch Hashem, hopefully his eitzes also, his advice as well. And the advice of the Tzaddikim is tefillah and connection to Hashem and Kedushas Abris and his spodidus, and we're seeing from this Torah. Specifically, it's very deep. I have a few svarim. This is a Hebrew edition of the BRI, Breshta Research Institute version, and I have in the English. We have also from the Beis Midrash. Whoever wants to see it, I have it ready here. Whoever wants to see it inside, but basically it's a beautiful set. And we're learning Torah Lamed Ches, and we're carrying on again in Sif Hey, in the 5th part. He says here, we're talking about doing Teshuva. Yeah, this is a very high concept. And during the 3 weeks there's a tremendous Eitz Ratzon for Teshuva. We mentioned already this whole time period is under the camp of Reuven, which is Teshuva, Reuven, Shimon, Gad, the Chodoshim of Tammuz, Av, and Elul. So we're in a time of Teshuva, this whole time period leading up to the Shleimus of Tafshin Pei Hey. Should be a year of Hashgacha Pratis, of divine providence. That's the same as Rosh Tevis is Hey and Pei, Hashgacha Pratis, Pei Hey. So it should be a year of divine providence, a lot of divine energy going on. And he says this concept we mentioned about Busha. So I was Min HaShamayim, I was listening to Gedalia Fenster today, and Gedalia Fenster brought up this concept of Busha. And we have to have Busha when we're connected to good people. There's a lot to work on when it comes to this Inyan. And the idea of Boshis Ponim, we mentioned Bereshis, Azosius, Year of Boshis. we mentioned a lot of deep ideas last time we learned, and Gedalia, what he's saying is making sure you process your shame. So there's a healthy, divine, holy avodah busha, which Am Yisrael described as Bashanim, which described as people who have shame in a holy way. But there's also when someone's been shamed, to process, make sure you process that. Don't forget about that part of tshuva, also processing the benam l'chaveira. Here we're talking more about the benam l'mokum, between us and Hashem, and the busha we have in front of Hashem, the awesomeness of Hashem. We're talking about someone who's someone's in the palace of the king, or someone's in the village of the king, the different experiences of the king. So the one who's in the village, when he sees the king, everything's wow, and the one who's in the palace, he's used to it, but he has a tremendous busha being so close to Hashem, to Hamelech, to the king, and in this case, the Moshe was, for the Nimsha was Hashem. Hashem is the Melech, yeah? So we have to have that shame. But when we come, that's Benam L'Mokum. But Benam L'Chaveiro, it's very just important to throw this in, as based on Gedalia's shir today, that we need to process the shame. We've gone through shame in different ways. We see there's been massive ramifications for people that didn't process shame. Or maybe they used the shame, I don't know, like for example Trump, and he was shamed by Obama. They say that was the fuel that got him to become the president. Yeah, see, it makes a massive impact. Yeah, maybe he processed it in a good way, it became something positive. Yeah, I don't know. We don't know what's in the hearts of men, but what we do know is that we ourselves, if we've been shamed, we have to process it, deal with it, and to not have it affect us negatively. But the healthy shame is between us and Hashem, and to have a shame also. We see that we get shamed in front of people, so we should realize that's just a taste of what it means to have shame in front of Hashem. So we have to start translating a lot of emotions into avodas Hashem, and not just leaving them as emotions. Part of Tikkun Amidas, part of what we're here in the world, is to transform. There's a big klal in general Chassidus. A lot of our midas need to be elevated, or at least directed towards the right source, and the right source we know is Hashem. So when you learn Svarim of Tzaddikim, it awakens all the different aspects of your being. You come Shlema towards your Makor, which is the source is Hashem. And that's one of the important things. I was just listening to Yaakov Klein, and then we'll start reading Rebbe Nachman. He's a very big fan. He also has a Seder in Likutei Moharan, but every day. And he has a beautiful shir, and I've been listening a lot recently. Yaakov Klein should be in London. He's a friend of mine. He's a bit younger, but we have to learn from everyone. Baruch Hashem. Young, old, doesn't make a difference. So he is teaching this concept of in Likutei Moharan, this concept of connecting to this, obviously the teachings of the Tzaddikim. But one of the other things is he is also awakening the importance of when you're learning to really to daven on it, to really make it more real, part of yourself, and to appreciate the simcha, the fortune. He ends up a shir with a lot of simcha that we were zocher to learn these Torahs, this big Chizzuk. Just the fact that we're mentioning Rebbe Nachman's name has a koach. We mention the name of Tzaddikim, we open up in their sefer. Doesn't matter how much we do, just touching base with Tzaddikim is a tremendous fuss in this generation. We're focusing even for 10, 15, 20 minutes, and online, it's going online and people are watching it and people are connecting and thinking about the concept, even if they touch on it for a minute. One of the good ideas would be one day to take a little bit of all the smaller parts and make some shorts, because people like it in small amounts. A good moment. And just that's a way that then it starts to really gather traction. Unfortunately, that's the generation. It's small amounts. You can't really have these longer forms. So, Baruch Hashem, at some point I need to do that myself. But anyway, to get back to here, so we ended off with Yecheskel and Yeshaya, two different types of Nevi'im. One was more of the village, which is Yecheskel. He was outside of Eretz Yisrael. And then you have the Novi on the level of Yeshaya, who was experiencing Hashem on the most revealed way that Novi can, other than Moshe Rabbeinu. And then he was Kol Mashikor B'Yoseh Al HaMelech Bashto Gadol. Whoever's Zocher to get closer to the king, he experiences a greater shame. That's the blessing of getting closer to the king. You experience more shame. Remember, we're saying shame is a good thing in this instance. Kodem HaTshuva. This is all before you do tshuva. Adayin Yidiyasa B'Katnis. And you know that he's still limited as a result, his embarrassment. Shame can also be translated as embarrassment. It's still in a small level. And it's not coming out in his face. One of the things I had I don't know if I'm always on this level, but I had some good moments maybe in my Yiddishkeit, And I don't mind saying this story just to give Chizzuk that it's possible. If someone like me who came from a secular family and didn't know any Yiddishkeit, please God, they'll all be Zoch also to Teshuva, but I was by Rosh Shalom Orish, and I had the chus to work with him for 5 years, and part of the hachana of beginning to work with him, it almost happened with the Yanuka recently, but we didn't go further because of money things. But with Rav Orish, I did have the chus. The deal was all agreed upon by the money people, but now I had to work out, was this going to be a relationship beyond the money? Was this going to be a relationship with the Tzaddik, who I'm going to be working for? So I had to go meet with him. And one of the nice things he said is that, Hashem, I have Yerushalayim Busha. So that was like one of the first times anyone had said that to me. And it was just nice to hear from a Tzaddik that he sees something on my face. Now, like I said, I'm not always on that level. I have my ups and downs. I have times where I have maybe a bit too much Busha and not enough Yerushalayim, but if you know what I mean. But the point is that whatever level, it's not always manifest. Because what happens is when we do sins, chatosav, they block up the intellect and our understandings. You have to realize the real problem is not, looking at it in a musa way, like, you're a sinner. Once a Rav called me a sinner. I was telling him that when I was a kid, I used to burn down forests and do crazy things. He called me a sinner. I said, I'm about tshuva. I'm just telling you, we were learning about it in Sugya, and I had those experiences. And his experience was, you're a sinner. I'm like, I don't know. That I didn't last in that collar. It wasn't my place. But the point was that the idea of realizing that sin is blocking you now from having yediyah, having understandings and seichel. And this is a ruach shtush b'kirbo. This is a foolish spirit that's within you. And it doesn't mean that you're this. You never identify yourself with sin. It's not you. We're all a chelik elokam mamish. We're all a holy neshama. We're never the sin. The sin is just something that you're experiencing right now, but that's not you. And it's a ruach shtus. It's a foolishness that comes. That's why that old school way of, I don't agree with that, Rosh Kolam. That old school way of, making the ruach shtus your identity. That's not you. It was a stupid, foolish spirit that came into you. The Gemara in Sanhedrin says, "Ein adam over avera." Yeah, a person's only over a sin when a ruach shtus is niknas or whatever the exact lashon is. When a ruach spirit of folly enters him. Now you're doing tshuva. What happens? Meisimenu have tipshis. What happens? You remove from yourself this foolishness, because we are actually a very kliga people. We're wise people. That's one of the advantages of being a Jew. That Hashem gave us an extra little bit of cleverness that maybe the world, is jealous of or admires, and we have to live with that cleverness, and that means be clever with the Yetzer Hara also and all the foolishness that goes on around and around. The Tosef bo sichlo, so that his intellect grows, as I whom is bayesh b'yoseh. Then he becomes exceedingly embarrassed when his gala busha al panav, and that embarrassment shows on his face. Abusha zosu bechinas or tefillin. Now this is very deep. I couldn't say this. But the busha, and this is the tzaddik saying this, Rebbe Nachman, the idea that the busha that comes on you is the or of the tefillin, the light of tefillin. Now we've been learning, if you were with us the whole time and you can go back, what does it mean, the light of tefillin? Yeah, the light of the tefillin. Where's this light of the tefillin? It's going to say, "Nizgala al pana b'mitzacha." It appears on your forehead. That's one of the things when people, bochrim used to come into yeshiva and they had a bad night. They'd cover their forehead because they didn't want the tzaddik to see what they'd been up to. There's such an idea. Irka is galas abushahu b'metzach. The main revelation of shame comes on your forehead. Metzach isha zona haylach manta hakelem. You had the forehead of a prostitute who refused to be ashamed. That's a pasuk in Yirmiyahu. So we have to realize that tshuva comes first, and then slowly this elevates and removes this foolishness, and you start to become in a state of busha, of shame in front of Hashem, and that expresses itself on your face and where most, as the tefillin, above the metzach, on the forehead. And this forehead is a very powerful concept, but what does it mean, or of tefillin? Yeah, the light means that through the prayer, new mentalities appear. Then in the Rishimu means like the imprint, emerges an aspect of tefillin. For the embarrassment causes and the shame, it causes him to pray, to daven, and request forgiveness for his sins. Now this is one of the most important things. When I was by Rav Orish, Shalom Orish lived this. He should be well. He lived this. I had this 5 years to be with him, and he would say many, many times that he's living in Gan Eden. Why is he living in Gan Eden? He says because every day he does a spoilus. And I was with him. I saw this. I could give story after story. And when we were on tour together, we traveled around America and all the different places we went to. One trip we went 10 locations. Crazy. Within a few weeks, it was mad. It's like every night flight. It was crazy. But no matter what was going on, and Erev Shabbos, no matter how many people wanted to meet with him, he would stop whatever he was doing and go do a spoilus. So I had to put it into the schedule because every 15 minutes by him was $500 a meeting. And that's not talking about the shiurim, but thousands and thousands of people and all kinds of shefa going on. So every minute was value. So, but that hour was blocked off as spoilus. Doesn't matter money, nothing. And the richest person come along, I need that time now. No, he's in the spoilus. That relationship with Hashem. What did he do in the spoilus? He said, his spoilus every day he cleans himself. He talks to Hashem about cleaning him. One part of it, not the whole thing. Some of it was for Am Yisrael. Some of it is thanking Hashem. Some of it was. There's a whole avoda what you talk look in the Svarim about, in fields of, Garden of Muna series. You see all the different books. In the fields one, he has a whole special concept explaining the state of what you're supposed to do in the spoilus. There's a whole avoda from Rav Arush about this, but the main nakuda that we're saying here is that he cleansed himself every day. He did tshuva on his sins every day. Now, I don't know what his sins were, but he did tshuva. And then therefore every day he was clean, like Yom Kippur, like Yemei Kedem, like Gan Eden. So he experienced it, my life is amazing now. And I have no baggage, no blockage in my mind and my head. The mochin, the new mentalities can come in. And then the aura of tefillin is megale on his forehead, this light of shame, of this kedusha, this holiness, boshas upon him, the year of boshas of Shabbos Kodesh, the light that comes out from every Jew that when you keep a Shabbos. We don't see this like with our physical eyes, but Tzaddikim see this. There's a light emanating from us when we keep Shabbos. It's a more Chizzuk. By the Tzaddikim they were able to see it. I can tell you lots of stories of Tzaddikim that they looked different, had a different face on Shabbos because the light, the neshama was coming through. And this the idea, this mochin, this new mentalities that come through the tefillin, because this is a generation where we constantly need to upgrade our mindset. Just like you need to upgrade all the time on your apps and on your phone and on your computer, we need to upgrade constantly our mindset. We can't stay with any, that's why that old Rosh Kolel's mindset, you're a sinner, that's nothing to do with our generation. We have to upgrade our mindset. We have to be a positive Chizzuk mindset. We have to be an elevated mindset. We have to be an abundant mindset. We have to be a Mashiach mindset. We have to be Tzadikim's mindset. This is the mindset we have to aim for. Very high way of consciousness, of looking at everything. Not small level, high consciousness, not less godless. And the tefillin represents, and this all represents, and this tshuva, and this it allows room for this foolishness to be removed, and then we're in a state of godless. And a great way of looking at life. Arya said a good thing. He speaks good. He comes to the shul and speaks. Who ends off with this? He comes in. He speaks good. And he was talking to me today. Like sometimes you got to just step back and see that overall your journey it's amazing. Fine, you have the ups and downs. I mean, with this booking business, if I would step back and say fine, there's so many deals that haven't worked out, but the ones that have, how amazing they were. Right now we're trying to book this whole Hanukkah expense. Bez Hashem, it will work out with Levi Miller. I just now signed up his brother DuvBear, Matziel's other son. I've always dreamed of working with Matziel. Now at least I get to do it for his sons. And Levi told me last night, he said his father gave thumbs up to everything. So in a way I am working with him, in a way, through his sons. So to have someone who was so influential in music, to now be able to help his family and to see Am Yisrael grow together, but actus in unity, through music, through places like this. Bez Hashem, this is the godless, this is the expanded consciousness that Rebbe Nachman is helping us through tshuva and shame to bring us to a high level of looking at life, and that will bring us ability to have this light. And we're gonna learn about this light a bit more and the fear of Hashem, but we'll have to save that for next week. Parshas Matzos Mosai. Okay, enjoy Parshas Pinchas. Have a good Shabbos, and we daven that everyone should be zocher, please God, to this beautiful tshuva and to have expanded consciousness, and with that have all the blessings in the world. Amen.